better your best. Essex.
First positions, please. Make this a good one, please. We've only got one take of this. Okay, turn over the prop, stand clear. Come the Tigers, nice and quiet on set, please. Are you ready on the roller coaster? Okay, thanks, stand by to roll. Yeah, recording sound. Okay, everyone, let's have some fun. And action!
And now David is going to stay with us to present the Essex Half Marathon for the men. In third place, from New South Wales on top of 103.59, Ben Morrow. And being sledged from the crowd as well, fair dinkum. In second place, at a time of 103.57, from Japan, Shinichi Yamashita. And the winner today, it was, I think, 1 second in front. From the ACT in a time of 103.56, Martin Dent from the ACT. Well done, Martin. Congratulations to you. Tremendous race, Ben, Shinichi and Martin. Hop up there and we'll have the photograph. We still have the Oceania to do, and I think we're going to do that now, or we're waiting. I'll just grab those sheets, so stay on the athlete. And thank you very much.
Ever thought a degree could help you achieve more? Our new Gold Coast campus is perfectly positioned to excite and empower you with degrees to launch your career as a business professional and take it to the next level, or be your passport to international work opportunities, or work in the legal system. And with distance education, you study where it suits you while being part of our interactive online community. Apply now for 2014. It's all about you at Southern Cross University Gold Coast.
Welcome back to the studio of the Gold Coast Airport Marathon. We've got the three amigos here. Welcome, Lee Troop, to the commentary box. I feel quite privileged. I get a bit of hair and you blokes don't.
I know. And let's just say that there's nothing we can do about it.
That's right. Now, Troopy, not a great day at the office. We know how much you love running, but today probably wasn't the better ones. But at least you've come here and been part of the event. 67 and what out there for the half?
67.40 something. So, yeah, my hip shut down at 13K. So I was in the lead pack feeling great. And then it was just a simple little thing. Athlete in front of me jumped out and he clipped me and just shunted my hip, and got to 9K, was sort of sore, but then by 10K, and especially the turn at 10.5, 11K, that was when it started to get really sore, and by 13K I was reduced to a shuffle. So for me it was a long 7 or 8 kilometres on the way back and gave me a lot of time to think. And I guess the simple thing is, if just little things like that can tip my little frail body over, then it might be time to start to look at doing something else, I think.
Oh, but we know how much you love running. You're a Masters category now, mate. And you were saying yesterday, there's actually a bit of a market in the United States where you're based in Colorado in the Masters running. So
there is, but I've pretty much made the decision that I'll finish off with one more marathon at the end of the year, and then that's it. I'll still run, so I won't retire from running, but I'm going to, basically, well, not retire, but I just won't be competing competitively at the international and elite level anymore. Just with a young family, it makes it extremely difficult, with twin boys at 2 and Macy, and just the gym work and then the constant chiro, physio, osteo, massage, probing, prodding, creams. It just gets to a point at 40 where I just can't keep doing it. I've been doing it for 20 plus years now. So when I crossed the finish line, I didn't actually feel really disappointed. I think it's the right thing. And I've been toing and froing all year. I had a great Boston Marathon and I was really excited, and just I haven't been able to get going since Boston, just with a lot of the events that took place, and mentally and physically I've struggled, but just life's got in the way with family, and I just don't want to continually be going to races and performing at the level that I'm at. I mean, we're not talking much. I thought today I'd run 64.65, which I'd be happy with. Walking away with 67 and some change, but just to be in the amount of pain that I've been in. I've done enough races where the body's broken down and you're really asking your mental side of things to take over, and I think my brain's asking for a bit of a break as well.
Steve, is he being a bit hard on himself? Is it just a hard day at the office?
And you never make a decision in the couple of hours after a race. So we'll have a chat later. We're obviously good mates, and I'm disappointed to hear that, because he's got so much to offer. And whilst he's had a little problem with the body today, I think he's a guy who's passionate about his performance, and he'd be disappointed that he's let people down, and he doesn't have to worry about that. It's about his own time now. You're okay.
I'm okay. It's and seriously, I mean, I had people sending me a couple of messages saying you never make a decision in the heat of the battle, but I've been in the heat of the battle many, many times, and I've been toing and froing all year what I was going to do, and so this pretty much, as much as it was a curse, it's sort of a bit of a blessing, because it's made my decision much more clearer that this would be. I really wanted to run the Olympic trials in either late 2015, early 2016. But just the amount of work I've got to do to just stay healthy to be able to do it, and it really takes away from my wife and kids, and I really think it's about time that I invest some more time into them. We're in the States, we're on our own, so but I'll still run. I'll still run, 6-7 days a week. Whether that's doing some sessions with the athletes that I coach, or doing some training, and I'll still race 5Ks and 10Ks, and I might do the odd half, but I won't stand out there with hopes of grandeur.
Well, let's give you a moment to bask in the glory of your fantastic effort in Boston earlier this year, Trippy. So you finished top 15, you won the Masters category, 2:14 and a bit.
2:17.
2:17. Let's talk about the positive before your thoughts on what was obviously a tragic day for running. But that was, given where things are at, you must have been really happy with that.
I was. I mean, I was disappointed I didn't make the Olympics, but I mean, if you look at last year, I just kept continually breaking down and just couldn't get a race where everything clicked. And, I picked Boston this year because I ran it 4 years earlier. To me, it's the modern day spiritual home of the marathon. And, I wanted to run it again and just get reinvigorated and rejuvenated. And, the Masters thing for me was really secondary to why I was going there. It was to just really get me back on that plateau of just loving my running and loving to race. And, for me, I wanted to try and be in the top 10. So I set that as a clear target. I ended up running through the field and finishing 15th on a fairly tough day. It was a headwind the whole way. And, I sort of was really upbeat, especially the couple of hours after the race. It sort of gave me some hope. And I worked with a guy called John Brown, who has been fourth at the Olympics in 2000 and 2004. And we just did some different stuff, and I really enjoyed it. But obviously the events after that, and just, the trip that I've had here in Australia, it's going to be a long grind for the next 3 years. So, for me, to be perfectly honest, I'm at ease with the decision. I'm not going to sit there tomorrow and wake up and go, oh my God, what have I done? I'm still going to run. I'm not retiring from running. I just don't want to be competing at this top level with the halves and the fulls anymore, because my body just can't handle it anymore.
But truth be known, though, you do have that Boston run, I think, is a B qualifying. The Commonwealth Games standards have just been released, and that's a B qualifying. So you're actually, as we sit right now, I think you're probably in the Australian team for the Commonwealth Games, whilst we're still 12 months
That's
away.
That's a slide on the Australian team, which it won't be, because there will guys that will run fast, obviously, at the end of this year and early next year.
But so it's good, I suppose, you understand that you're still at world-class level and you're choosing to move on because, you want to, which is a nice position to be in.
Yeah, well, to be honest, I'm looking forward to not having to go to the gym, and I'm looking forward to not having to keep making these appointments. And like I said, it was a simple thing. It just clipped me, but it's been the story of my life. Like at the Sydney Olympics, running the race of my life, I was fourth at halfway, and I tear a stomach muscle at 23 k's, and the amount of work I've had to do since Sydney 2000 to be able to produce some of the results that I've done, but then also have some of the disappointments that I've had. I just don't want that for the next 4 years. I think the writing was on the wall, missing the London Olympics, and I stubbornly didn't want to accept that and believe that I still had more to offer and that I could make an Australian team. And there's a slim chance I possibly could, but the reality is that I'm just not at a point where I'm enjoying it as much as I should be, and I'm just sick of my body letting me down.
Yeah, and that's obviously that's an issue, because we understand that whilst people are out there on the road today and doing it hard, it's really in the lead up. It's all the training. As you know, it's all the work you put in, and if your body's not allowing you to put that work in, then it's going to be difficult for you to get the results that you want.
Well, as you know, Mona, we select races, and the bottom line is they're the races that we focus on, and it'll be fantastic, I think, taking this pressure off, because I usually find that my best prep of training usually comes from, around about sort of 12 weeks to go to 6 weeks to go, and in that 6 week period, if there was a marathon, I should be doing it straight away, but you've still got 6 weeks to hold yourself together, and it's in those last 3 or 4 weeks that things are starting to come apart. So for me, I can just pick and choose whatever races I want to do now. If I'm feeling good, I might just jump on the phone to a race director and say, I'm coming, and see what happens. But I mean, the great thing is now that, I don't have the hope of wanting to represent my country again in the green and gold singlet. I'm just doing it for fun, and I'm probably going to look forward to that more. And I might even get more out of myself taking that pressure away. But I want to run one more marathon at the end of the year. I know which one it's going to be. I've always said that would be the swan song for me personally, and so I'll go home and get all that organised and look forward to doing that. And then we just walk into 2014 with something. I don't know what yet, but I'll be doing something.
So, guys, let's have a look at the splits. Good news on both fronts. So the guys have picked it up a little bit. The 30k split, 1:32.13. So that does put us back on ahead of race record pace. A couple of the pacemakers dropped off, but we've got Wanjuki. Actually, he's one of the pacers. And Serum took him through 30k. Ito, Gebru, Kawauchi, all on race record pace. The women are still going fantastic. And Yukiko Akaba is back in the mix, Stephen Lee. So she dropped off. She's second, only 10 seconds behind Garici. So looking very interesting. And we're going to cross out onto the course in the next minute or so, because we've got Jessica Mears out there with Gold Coast Marathon legend Pat Carroll. Guys, tell us how it's looking as they come back through 31k.
So with Pat Carroll, 4-time Gold Coast Marathon winner and current ambassador of the event. Pat, this stage of the race, they've gone 31 Ks. What are they going to be feeling right about now?
Well, I guess it's challenging the way the Gold Coast Airport Marathon is designed, because they actually run past the start-finish line. So it is psychologically it's a bit of a challenge, but you really got to try and block out the fact you are actually going past the finish area. I guess the main positive is a bit of a crowd around, so the crowd gives them a bit of a cheer. So that is exhilarating in itself. So it's a bit of a positive there. But then you're out to Runaway Bay, which is into a bit of no man's land. But we're on the crest of the hill here, and we can actually see the lead runners. So for all the people in the start area want to come out onto the road, you can actually see the runners coming past at the moment. And in the lead is Kawauchi, Yuki Kawauchi, and Gebru in the lead. So they're on a cracking pace. So 10 kilometres to go, only and 2 runners just off the back. But heading out to Runaway Bay, it is a bit of a challenge, because you're sort of like you're heading out into no man's land out there, Jess. And when you turn around at the turnaround at Runaway Bay, visually 5 kilometres just looks like a long way.
Psychologically, it must be incredibly challenging at this point. What kind of mind games or what kind of thought processes can you use at this point to really encourage yourself and keep yourself going?
Well, if I was in the marathon there, I'd be just focused on getting myself up to Runaway Bay. just trying to stay relaxed and just say, well, okay, my next goal is to get myself up to Runaway Bay, and then when you get to Runaway Bay, then you've only got like 5k to go, 4, 3, 2, 1. So just sort of count the kilometres down. So don't try and look at how far it is to travel, because it looks a long way, 5 kilometres. You can actually see the high rises of Southport and Surfers Paradise. So when you see the high rises, you think, oh man, it looks more like 20 kilometres. But yeah, just looking at the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and before you know it, you're home. Visualising on that finish line, and if you're in the race, then if things are going well, then you could maybe start to think about making a bit of a breakaway, and then you could be running scared. So just all the time thinking that even though you've dropped some runners, you might just all of a sudden think they're about to catch you. So you'll be sort of running scared the last 5 or 4k.
Now, you've got a lot of runners out there competing today from your running group, Pat Carroll Running Group, or PCRG, which I managed to escape running today, very luckily. Pat, why is it important to you to have a group like that where every man can take part?
Well, yeah, I'm very proud of the PCRG. We've been going 10 years. They had our 10-year anniversary dinner last week, which was fantastic. And so 10 years, I never thought that the group would grow to the extent that it has. I have around about 180 runners this weekend on the team, and more involved with my online coaching. So it's a large contingent that I'm involved with, and throughout all the events, 10k, half marathon and marathon, and everyone in there has their own goal. I mean, to run half marathon for the first time, sub 2 hours. So we all respect each other regardless of how long it takes to cross the line.
And there was a very impressive fundraising effort this year with a charity. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, we took on MND and Me, which is motor neuron disease. Scott Sullivan is a Brisbane guy who has motor neuron disease, and Scott has made it his mission to raise money to research this terrible disease, and also set up a centre where people can actually go along and learn about the disease they have, and possibly access to some equipment they may be able to borrow or whatever. But my group's raised around about 27,000, and Scotty's group has raised over 70. So together we've raised over $100,000 for motor neuron, MND and Me, through the Gold Coast Airport Marathon, which is fantastic.
That's an unbelievable effort, really is. And thank you so much for your contribution, not only just to the event, but to the sport of long distance running. I know I'm personally very grateful for your training. But yeah, thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you out here again next year.
No worries, Jess, my pleasure.
Thanks very much, Jessica and Pat Carroll. Of course, in the meantime, guys, we've seen an absolutely decisive move. We've lost pictures for the moment. Hang on, before we talk about that, the first wheelchair has just come across the line, and I'm trying to give you a name.
Okay, Richard Nicholson.
It is Richard Nicholson, yeah. Right.
You can tell by those arms.
So that's around 145.13, which is terrific. Win by Richard Nicholson. But in the marathon, guys, the packers totally split apart. We actually have a clear leader, the Ethiopian Gebru. So we saw a surge before that little hill at 30k. Gebru pushed them apart, and now he looks like he's a good 40 metres or so ahead of Kawauchi.
Yeah, it's interesting, and he looks pretty relaxed about it. He's giving the thumbs up there, and all looks pretty much in control. So, and he doesn't look like he's running all that fast, but that is a very decisive gap. We're probably looking, if you look, the front-on shot never gives you a true indication of that distance, but we're probably looking at, I think that's probably 50 metres that he's established that gap. He really made a surge up. Once they got through the start-finish area, there's a downhill, and he took off down there, and he's gapped them very quickly. He's obviously feeling very good.
And Kawauchi's making a really, concerted effort to really get back on. So he's dropped one of his countrymen, and if you actually get a good, long distance shot, you'll see him coming and working. And he's a guy that you'll never, ever want to underestimate, because even though he may look tired, he'll be like that through to the very, very end. He's very tough.
In fact, it was Kawauchi's countryman Ito who really put the surge on through that hill. He split them apart. He looked pretty good coming down the other side. All of a sudden, Gebru burst out from the three of them, and he's really surged to the front. So he's obviously worked hard through this 1.5k.
Yeah, I sense they're going to pack up. I think Troopy's right. I really think that Kawauchi's probably just going to close this down. He just I'm not sure. Whilst he's established that gap, I don't know how he got it, because to be honest, he doesn't look like he's running that well and that fast. So I'm not as confident. I think
He's taken a
working
gamble,
hard.
hasn't he, guys? Having a crack 10K from home. Really, he's probably run sort of around a 3-minute K to try and split them apart. You don't know whether you're going to pay for that over the remaining 8.
Well, then, but you also don't know whether the opposition are going to pay for it as well. So, I mean, that's one of those, I guess, mind game things. Is he's looked over his shoulder probably 3 or 4 times, and it is like he's hit the gas and he's waiting for Kawachi to get back up. Whether he wants to work with him and realise he might have gone a little bit too early, he might be fatiguing. I really don't know, but it certainly has been strange from 31K when I thought Kawachi was going to be gone, and all of a sudden it's just changed the lead 3 different times.
He's going very well, and whilst that gap's there, we got it. Their differential in their PB is about 3 seconds, I think, 4 seconds. So they're very, very similar athletes, and Gebru is very experienced. He was second at Rome last year, so and he's ran under 2:10 a couple of times. So he's a very experienced campaigner. He knows what he's doing out there. So that established gap, whilst we think Kawachi's going to catch him, I'm just not sure.
We're seeing the pain on Kawachi's face off screen, but guys, as you would know, having watched him run, you don't take anything out of that. You would read nothing into his face, because this guy is one of the gutsiest runners going around the circuit at the moment, and he's got a stated aim, as we were saying before, Lee. He wants to win the Australian trifecta. He won Sydney last year, hoping to win Gold Coast, and then go on to win Melbourne later this year, which is an amazing goal.
And do you know why? Just because he wants to.
Just because
That's right. There's nothing. It's not like if you win the Triple Crown, there's like $100,000. He just wants to do it, and like I just marvel at this young man. It's amazing. And Brett Larnett was here, and he said, he spoke to Kawachi, and he really respects you. He just thinks you're fantastic. And I said, well, hang on a second. I said, we'll triple that and quadruple that for the respect I have for this young man. He's amazing.
Yeah.
And Troopy, what do you make of his racing regime this year particularly? 5 marathons, a 50K ultra 4 weeks ago, backing up Moscow and then Melbourne. How does he do it, do you think, in your mind?
Well, the simple thing is I can't. There's just no way you can comprehend it. I mean, it just goes against, the logic of what we have always been taught as marathon runners. But again, it's all about pushing envelopes. I mean, you see the Ethiopians and Kenyans, and you see exactly what they've been able to do on the world stage. And he's not even contracted with any of the big teams over there. Like, even though he's a cult figure, he's really on the outside of the way the system works. But that to me is great. I mean, I'm always for people that want to push it and just get out there and give their utmost. And, what he's been able to do, I don't think he's going to be doing for the next 10 or 20 years. Brett said he did want to be like Mona and I and running in his 40s, but I can tell you, if he continues this up, I don't think it'll happen.
I already called it earlier. I think he's here for a good time, not a long time.
So, guys, look, this is interesting. We've got we could have a Japanese double, depending if Kawachi can pick up Gebru, because in the women's race, Yukiko Akaba has opened a significant lead of almost a minute on Alice Garici. So the Japanese, who have had a long and proud tradition at Gold Coast, dropped away a little bit when the Africans dominated the last few years. We could see a Japanese double again.
And they are running very fast. She's, I reckon, I've worked out about 2:26 pace, which it would absolutely smash the course record, and it's actually not that far out of outside the Australian all-comers record, which I think was from the Sydney Olympics in 2000, 2:23. So Akaba is going great, really well.
So on screen you're looking at the race leader in the men's marathon, Gourmet Gebru. Guys, he's a little bit ungainly. Do you get any sense whether you can see any more fatigue setting in what is mentally a really tough part of the race?
Love the camera work, because early on, we had the Moto camera showing their legs. Now, facial expressions, as we know, give you no indication, because if we were calling it from facial expressions, I'd be saying that Gebru's home. But I just sense that Kawachi's probably looking better in the legs. He's got strong legs and he's still got a good knee lift, whereas I think Gebru's starting to just, work into the ground a little bit. But it's certainly, we're in for a cracking race.
We're still about 50 metres, so by any stretch of the imagination, he's not home and hose.
Yep.
But interesting, running the half marathon this morning, there is a stiff breeze out there, and the second half can become quite tiresome.
So up this top end of Paradise Point, a little more
definitely.
pronounced.
And I always find the first half going out, it's actually harder, but it's actually probably the most enjoyable part of the course. And coming back on the second end, it gets pretty lonely out there, and you are exposed to the elements a little bit more. So it'll be interesting once you start to get tired. A simple little breeze can feel like a major strong headwind of 5 to 10 knots. So.
And a good friend of yours, Rowan Walker, we just saw. I think we saw footage of him maybe passing Aaron Pulford. I'd suggest so. It looks like
32K.
Rowan's on. He is the most consistent Australian marathon runner, no doubt about that. He's
220,
rolls it out.
Yeah. Well, Aaron Pulford debuting from New Zealand, he may have misjudged it. He went out at around 220 pace. So we're looking at the race leader here, Gebru. Now,
Just through 35, so we'll get that split for you very quickly. I think that gap...
This is a race of the mind now, isn't it, guys?
Well...
Really, who's tougher mentally?
Yeah, and I think you would want that. You'd probably need Gebru to drop, because at this pace, he's not going to close on him. So I sense that it's the race there for Gebru to win, and it's really now a matter of whether Karachi can close him down at some stage, because... I sense...
They're ahead of race record pace, I can tell you, through 35, 1:47.21. 20 seconds up on the pace with a leader and a chaser. This is a pretty good scenario for a record, isn't it? Because Gebru's going to hang on. Kawauchi, he's got someone to chase and someone to chase real hard. 8-second differential is what the splits are telling us.
And only 15 back to Ito as well, so he's running on well. I did notice that Gebru got his drink very comfortably, so that suggests that he's travelling all right. If you're fumbling a bit in the drink station, that's always a bit of a worry, but he got it well, went for a water as well. So
Kawauchi's right in shot there. This is going to be a cracker finish, isn't it?
You wouldn't want to be anywhere else. I mean, it's fantastic.
Well, if we're not that we're laying bets again, but I think we're all suggesting that Kawauchi's... I don't know. I just sense he's probably going... He's the favourite at this point in time, and he's not in front. How can we say that? But in my mind, that's where it's sitting.
In this situation, you'd rather be the chaser than the leader, would you?
I'd probably prefer to be the leader in this situation. I was in a similar situation to this in 2014 when I had the Eritrean Gamuchu chasing me down, and he said he put in a concerted effort, but he put in such a big effort that with the way the conditions were, he just couldn't bridge it back, and I had enough to hold on. That's me, but there are some people that love to chase. Yeah. And, there were plenty out there chasing me in today. And, there are just some people that they thrive on that. It takes time out of the equation. They just look ahead and they've got something visible and tangible to try and chase and peg back.
So we are looking at the race leader in the women's marathon on pace for a record there. Yukiko Akaba, who was trailing by the best part of about 45 seconds, Alice Garici earlier in the race. She's found a bit of male company there, offering to share her a drink. But
I'm glad she didn't take it.
Yep.
Because
that's a good sign.
I'm pretty sure that under these rules that you're not allowed to receive any assistance at all. They have to get their own drink bottle. So with the cameras there, all in vogue, I'm glad she denied not wanting to have it.
And she's obviously travelling pretty well, and
48
the awareness.
Second lead, Steve.
48, right?
Yep.
So we've seen a reversal. She was 48 behind, now to 48 ahead, over that hump through that 31k point. So she looks like she's running on very strong, and as we say, running incredibly fast. And you're not seeing a lot of male company around there, because I'm telling you, she is very high up in the overall placings, and she
could place her top 20 or 25 overall, maybe.
Oh yeah, mate, I reckon higher than that.
Yeah.
She could be top 10 or 15 if she keeps that pace up. I would think so.
So we've got an Ethiopian leading the race. A bit of history repeating itself. About 3 kilometres from home, maybe 4 kilometres as they come over this. One of the last little inclines, a bridge there. Kawauchi, is he closing?
Looks good.
I reckon he's closing. See, that's why you don't want to be... It's good, Troopy likes to be in front. It's good to be in front and looking down the road. It's not good if you're in front and you're having a peek over your back shoulder, because that suggests that you're worried about that second person closing on you. So... I reckon we're going to see a closing
the way
up
they
of
come
this
around the
race.
roundabout. I always say coming in and coming out of turns is a good sign to see how well you're going.
How much strength you've got in the legs to
exactly
push out.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's having another look.
From that it was probably hard to tell. But going up the hill, Gebru looked fantastic going up the hill. I thought, okay, he's away, but he's looked over his shoulder 3 times in the space of 50 metres. So it suggests to me he's a little bit worried, because the first time he would have seen him, didn't have to look twice in the next 25 metres.
No.
Yeah.
And it's not like we're in the finishing straight here, boys. We've still got 10 or 11k to go. So we're at a place where there's still a lot of running. Lots can happen in the last 10k of a marathon, as we well and truly know. So,
guys, I'm wondering, is there any value in knowing, and I can't find 10k times to see who's got the better kick out of these two? Is that much of a factor here?
Not at the end of
this
the race.
ain't going to come down to a kick.
No?
No, not the way it's unfolding on the road here. I think we're seeing that it's going to be pretty decisive. What will happen if they... And we're assuming that... Karachi's going to close. If they get together, it's how Gebru will respond to that will be the winning and losing of the race. So that'll be your kick finish, how he responds, because if he can go, I mean, he's still holding a good lead. We shouldn't write him off just yet. He's obviously still holding
I'm
that
going to
lead,
change
so.
and say that I think Gebru's got it, because that lead has stayed the same for about the last 6 or 7K.
All right, I love a challenge.
He hasn't
All right,
edged into it.
I love a challenge.
So you obviously take a bit of a gamble if you're Kouachi at this point. Just, how much of your leftover cash do you expend? How much have you got left in the bank after that? And then you're running on guts the last 2K.
Yep.
I'd back Kouachi if it comes down to a guts run the last 2K. What I know and understand of his
Certainly getting
record.
closer, isn't he?
He just his legs. I just sense that those quads are starting to labour, and he's hitting the ground a bit harder. Whereas I think Kouachi's probably just over the ground a bit better. But yeah, I don't know.
This is a fantastic race. I reckon the lead is slimming there. Now hang on.
Here we go. This is the turn.
The final
so
turn for home.
now.
So yeah, we're about what's this? About 3 to 3.5K from home, guys. So we're now got 152 on the clock.
Kouachi's on.
Yeah. So we've probably
got
this is the time to make the move, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can see one surging, one's fading a little bit. Now, how do you hold it off here? I mean, we spoke yesterday about Deacon Akanga back in 1982.
He's done.
There it is. That's it. He would have responded straight away. So he needs to get on the back right now, and you can see this is the kick. So this saves kicking at the finish because he's kicking right now. Yuki's making a surge, and that looks like it's a winning break.
This is extraordinary. Such a strong runner. His race record in 2013 absolutely defies this sort of effort, this sort of time. Get used to that grimace, ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching, because you're going to see that through the next, hopefully it's about 16 minutes. That's going to put him under 210.
Okay, so there's, what have we got there? 5K to go.
5.2K to go, and we can work that out if he's running 3-minute Ks. Gee.
Okay, is that... So we're sure that was 37K.
Yeah, we saw it, definitely. So
okay, so we might not be race record if that's the way we're headed. But
I think that'll be right. If you're adding 15 and a half minutes on, I reckon he'll be between. We'll go between Deke's record and the course record. I reckon he's probably in the high 2.9s at the moment. Again, he needs to keep this momentum going. It's now he's got the race won. He's probably in a position where he knows he's got control of the race. Can he keep pushing to the finish to get that? How about that? Wouldn't that be it'd be a fairy tale. He runs his 2.9.59 because I reckon that's about what he's on at the moment.
If he's predicted that. Does it make any difference for Kouachi, the fact that Gebru has kind of given up so easily, the fact that he's probably not going to look back? I don't think he's the sort of guy who looks back. The fact that there's been no resistance offered by Gebru, does that make any effort in Kouachi's mind to what he can do through the final 5K?
Probably not. I think he probably would have known he was catching him. When you know, that's the advantage. Whilst you're second, if you're catching someone, you're actually running at a faster pace to catch them. Yep. So when you do catch them, logically you should be able to go straight past. So I think that's happened here, and he's probably now he's running for home and knowing that he's got the race. The only way he's going to lose now is if he hits the wall really badly and he's reduced to a shuffle. But at the moment, that doesn't look like he's going to.
But it shows you how quickly things change in 10 seconds. Because
I
was like, yep, Kouachi's going to get him. Yep, it'll be great. And then all of a sudden, like, well, there's only about 5K to go. You know, that 8-second gap hasn't changed. Oh, I'm gonna go for Gebru, and then all of a sudden it just changed, and that's the nature of the marathon.
And that's got to be, as well as a physical experience. You guys, we've spoken about it, Ian. It's a mental game right now. Gebru's just suddenly seen the victory go, and he's just battling now with his demons, physically and personally, just to carry that body to the finish line.
Now this
he's
gap,
really tired now.
Look at so the gap is probably 40, 50 metres. That's got to be 15, 20 seconds. It's almost impossible to say to think that Gebru could come back from here. The issue is, can Kouachi hang on and dip under the race record? Yeah,
I think that's the key now, and he certainly looks like he's still full of running. So, and he's also aware, there's bonuses. He's a proud guy. He's ran under 210. That's on your record. He'll know the number of times he's run under 210, and you don't get to step out and do that all that often. So that's a great carrot for him to be chasing. He knows he's got the victory now. It's the time that's important.
It's a little bit lonely up here, isn't it? There's not a lot of crowds. We're seeing just sparse spectators. Is that much of a factor? Do those external voices by the side of the road, Lee, do they help you at
Maybe
this point
for
in the
Australians,
race?
but not for these guys. These guys are used to going out there and pounding the streets with no one around. I mean, when they race in Japan, yeah, the streets will be lined 10 deep and they'll be cheering, but these guys are so zoned in to internally make sure that they're switched on to go that it won't make a difference for them. They just know exactly what they've got to do. They've dialed it in, and that's what they're focused on.
You said about the wind, and he has got hair, fortunately, so we can look at that, and he's making his own wind a little bit, but it does suggest that maybe that's where that headwind is that you were talking about earlier, Lee.
Well, we said there's 17k mark, so that's 4k to go. The marker for the marathon is just prior to that. So if we added on, obviously 13 minutes, he's going to be going close to 2:10.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be off it. I think he's probably going to be running around about 2:10:30. But yeah, you can tell the way he's grimacing and the way he's actually leaning forward, he's really working into that wind.
Yes.
He almost
Yep.
lost his footing just a little bit there. That might disrupt momentum, which is really not something you want at this point in time.
He's on his toes a bit, though. He is still pushing off pretty well. So, I haven't conceded on the 2:10 just yet, but it's probably that incentive might have gone out of the he knows he's got the win, but I still think he's running pretty well.
The way the pack split apart from whatever that was, 28 to 31k, that was surprising and I guess a bit disappointing for me. What about you guys? It just seems to happen so quickly, doesn't it?
Yeah,
No
well, in these
surprises.
races.
Yeah, and that's it. I think those pacemakers, once it's become a bit of a habit now, once the pacemakers drop, it's very difficult for then someone else to take up the initiative, and you see the race normally unfold pretty quickly when that happens. And that's why, the longer that the pacers can keep going, if that's their role and they're feeling okay and they can get through a bit further down the road, it certainly helps because, we're seeing now that, Karauchi's probably running by himself. If he could have had help to 35, imagine how great he would have been running on that last 7k. So it does make a difference, no doubt.
And I talked obviously at the luncheon that this is actually a deceivingly tough course. It's flat, but when you're heading out to Paradise Point and you turn around and you come back, you start between 15 and 25k. You hit a lot of twists and turns, and if you're starting to fatigue and tire a little bit, you're working in and you're working out of each of those turns. And even though it's a straight run out and a straight run back from Runaway Bay, if you're tired, it doesn't matter. So I think a lot of those guys, especially the African guys, probably used a fair bit of energy on the way out and the way back in the early parts of the race, and that's what's cost them, because there's no doubt there was more depth in this Gold Coast Airport Marathon than we've ever had. So we should have had at least 4 or 5 guys still in it at this stage.
So why is that? I'm struggling to find a reason. You guys have got far greater marathon knowledge than I. What's your take on why we get guys 2:7, 2:8 and yet we can't see them run 2:10 here?
Well, the course, obviously possibly weather, but you've also got to put in time zone, jet lag, the travel where they've come from. I mean, some of these guys have to do about 5-6 different flights to get out of Kenya to get in. So there's a lot of reasons as to why it happens, but the great thing is that you sit there and you put all this together and you know straight away that even though there's a great list, you can put a line through half of them before the gun actually goes off. And I mean, that's something, Steve had taught me a long time ago, that go to these races overseas and you'll see 30 Africans and you're thinking, gee whiz, I'm going to be 31 here. But put a line through half of them and then that's the group that you focus on.
And I think there's a lot of incentive now with paced races and set-up races, and like I mentioned with Chanchima, 7th running 2:7 is different from what we're seeing here, where you've got to run out on the road by yourself, and I reckon that is a significant difference. So a winner, a person who's used to running and pushing home, that we're seeing here with Yuki Kawauchi is doing that, and you get it. I reckon that's a bit of an inbred thing. So forget about paced races and fast races. It's being competitive at the back end of a race when you need to tough it out. I reckon we're losing that skill a bit, and sometimes it's hard to really get that up here at the Gold Coast, because whilst they're credentialed independently, you put them all together and it's a difficult environment to run on here.
Well, I think we've seen pretty regularly, race leaders out on their own, particularly through those last 2 or 3 kilometres, which is what exactly we're seeing now. We'll be looking for a 40-kilometre split for Yuki Kawauchi, who's got a clear lead. You are looking at the certain race winner for the 2013 Gold Coast Airport Marathon, Yuki Kawauchi. And, of course, he defies logic as well because he works full-time. He works as in an administrative job in a school. Breaks all the rules, and yet, he's hopefully breaking a race record here today.
Well, 1.5 days is what he got off from work.
Yep.
And that included to fly here, fly home, and do the marathon. So he's exceptional. But I think Mona's right. Like, he's going to go close to this 2:10. I mean, he had 3K to go, and you sort of factor in 3K at 3-minute Ks and adding on the extra 200. He's definitely going to go very, very close.
I'm allowing for, if he's under the 40K mark, we'll get that split in about a minute's time, I reckon. If he's 2-3 or thereabouts, I'm allowing for about 6:46 for that last 2.2K, and he'll run his sub 2:10. So
well,
I'm winning so far today. So
you
I'm
are.
going okay.
I'm glad I didn't have a bet with you, Steve. I was way out with my a very wishful hope that we might get a 2:8 time here today. So we're just looking at this is the rest of the field. The Kenyans have been totally split apart. Bit hard to tell who that is. Chanchima.
I reckon Ito might have gone through Gebru. So I reckon
right.
there could be a 1-2, Japanese 1-2, I reckon. And, we've got to realise we're seeing history in the making here. This is very, very fast running. We're about to see the first time up on the Gold Coast here, someone running sub 2:10 possibly, and very close to Deeks Allcomer's record. I mean, this is phenomenal running, and don't underestimate how good a quality this run is.
So you're looking at, we think, the second place runner, Taiga Ito, he's 26 from Japan. Look, yeah, depending how far back
40K, I'm going to be close. He is going to be tight, I tell you.
Super close.
He's going to be right on his 2:59.
So 2:3. Well, I tell you
Wow.
what, the time to run 2:59.59 according to the official calculator, you've got to be 2:03.13 through 40K. He was 2:03.13.
Wow.
So we are down to the second, guys, of a race record. What's going through his head at this point in time?
Finish.
Get there.
Is he
thinking
grinding.
race records? Is
No,
that much of a motivation?
The Japanese aren't that dialed in. For them, like, there's honour in winning and racing as fast as they can. He would have had a clear-cut mission. Okay, we're going to go sub 2:10. This is what I've got to do. When the pack broke up, he's not worried about splits. He's grinding to get to the finish, and he wants to run as fast as he can.
Yeah, I beg to differ. I reckon he's got that time firmly fixed in his mind at the moment. He's running like he's a man possessed.
So
He would have got the 40K. Do you reckon? Yeah, he'd be seeing the 40K split. I just reckon he's running like he's got something in his mind. He doesn't need to run like this, but he's a proud person. Like Trippy says, maybe he's just so proud that he's just running so fast to run as fast as he possibly can.
So his gait, the grimace, as much as it was there, doesn't appear to have changed. We're not seeing any slip in form. He's looking pretty good. Form looks good, doesn't it?
He's sitting on the road a bit more. He's probably less leaning forward and hitting the roadway. He's not sort of, when he was on his toes and really pushing forward, he's probably sitting down on his hips a little bit more than he was a couple of K ago. So he got his drink there, though, so he seems to be travelling okay. He's got a water through 40K and drink. He's probably right. So that's it for him now. He's all eyes on the finish.
So in second place is Taiga Ito. He's a good minute behind. So Ito, the Japanese compatriot, has taken over Gebru from Ethiopia. So I'm not sure of the gap, but looking at Ito before, he'd open up a good 20 metres at least on Gebru. You'd imagine he'd be widening that. So I think the forecast of a 1-2 Japanese double, they're going to have a lot to celebrate because in the women, Yukiko Akaba, she's got almost a minute and a half on Alice Garichi of Kenya. So Japanese has had a long history here, not so much recent years. They could all be back.
Yeah, I think today's a bit of a turning point for the event, getting them back and certainly dominating both races here. And there we see Ito. He's got a PB of about 2:11 from Tokyo earlier this year, so he's going to be right on that as well. So that's both very, very good runs from the Japanese today.
So picture's breaking up just a little bit, but we are about probably 1,200 metres from home, something like that, 1,400 metres. This is where the crowds will come into play because this far out, This is I think
he's
the
about
last
to turn.
little hill.
Yep.
isn't
Goes
it?
over the
Goes
bridge,
over the
goes
bridge.
past McDonald's, and there's about a K to go.
Right. And he's about to, and he will get a sense of that. It's a long run into the finish. You tend to think, oh, where's that straight going to end before you turn into the actual finish area? But you know, he's probably looking at things. It's slightly downhill before it evens out a bit, so he'll need to keep working to keep his rhythm. Now he's got over the bridge and on that flat, straight section, he'll be concentrating on looking to that turn.
A little bit of a snaking turn into the finish. That's not ideally what you want when the legs are aching, having to push out of those turns as well.
That's certainly what I didn't want today, but you come off obviously the bitumen, you're onto the concrete going in and around that the new development that they've got there for the swimming pool. So it does take a bit out of you, but the funny thing is that when you're winning a race, it doesn't matter.
You've won this before, you know this feeling.
You
This
just
is
run
you.
straight through. I mean, I was high-fiving the crowd. It was fantastic. I probably lost a minute and a half, in the last few K because I knew I had the race won. But, you know, these guys, they'll come in and you're tired, but the thing is they've been like this for the last 10K, so...
I was looking at your splits, Troopy, for 06 when you won it, ran 2:14, so 65 and 69 were your splits. So must have been lots of high fives. But you know, at that point in time, if you've got a good lead,
well, it was a tough day. It was really, really hot in the second half, and that's the thing where the course was a little bit different, so we didn't go quite as far out, but we went further out to Runaway Bay. And it got really hot and exposed out there, but the job had been done with a fantastic pacemaker with the guy beside me, and we were able to get away with the win.
So we're looking at Yuki Kawauchi, who was the race leader in the 2013 Gold Coast Airport Marathon. Just coming through 2:07.5. This is going to be really close as to whether Kawauchi can break the race record of 2:10.01. He doesn't need much to slip under the magical 2 hour 10 mark, which is what we would love to achieve here. 2:09, anything we'd take.
We would. It's going to be just inside or just outside. We know it's going to be close.
Well, I've gone just outside. Yeah. I've gone just inside.
Well, and you lose. It's always hard to maintain that momentum, but hopefully he'll just be able to get a bit of motivation. He'll turn and he'll know that lead car. The lead car will probably turn off, so he won't have that right running into the line, but he'll know he's right on it, so there's no doubt he's going to be motivated to get under that 2:10
This
time.
is fantastic running by Yuki Kawauchi. He has set a punishing race schedule in 2013, something like 16 races so far this year. He's run 2 PBs, he's won 3 marathons, run 2:08 a couple of times. Extraordinary athlete. His legend and fame in Japan, if it could go any higher, will go up another notch or two, I'd imagine, guys.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, the Japanese love Australia and Australians, and they know our sport back to front, so this will certainly be definitely another notch in his belt.
And he's been here before and finished 4th, so he'll have a real enjoyment and appreciation of what a significant victory this will be for him.
So Yuki Kawauchi.
Wow.
So here he comes. So this is down the finishing straight. If it makes any difference, Yuki, we are willing you to carry you through to the last. It's about 300 metres from home, isn't it, or something like that?
Hopefully it's under 300.
Well, there we say they're 40. So he's not quite at 42k. We'll see that mark any moment. So he's 200 metres from home. This is really touch and go. We're trying to watch the clock.
2:09:30. He's got 30 seconds.
He's not going to get it. He's going to be right on.
Close.
Wow.
He's in the straight now.
He's turning.
Yuki Kawauchi heading into the home straight. The winner of the 2013 Gold Coast Airport Marathon. Is he going to sneak under 2 hours 10?
Seconds.
We can see him just appearing under the clock. It is counting down.
50. Yeah, he's got it. Good job, Mon.
2:09:50. 5, 4, 3. I think he's going to. This is so close. So close.
Wow.
2 hours 10. It's going to be.
And it's normally rounded up by a second.
Yeah,
so
2:10:04.
I think he. Wow. Gee, 2:10:04. You are right.
Gee, that is a fantastic run, despite the fact he is just. Oh, that was agonising, guys, wasn't it? So official time. Gee, I was really going to say before split your difference and say 2:10, but he's 1 second outside his race prediction. That is,
and under the course record. So
that we do have a new course record by 1 second.
It could be rounded up.
Might
they
be
always
rounded
round
up that
it.
1 second.
So we've got Taiga Ito from Japan making it a Japanese 1-2 double. So he's coming about 400 metres from the finish now. So a clear second from Gebru of Ethiopia. So this is an absolute fantastic day for Japan. They've reasserted their authority in Australian marathoning, and with a clear winner, a clear leader in the women's marathon. It's fantastic to see. Big great celebrations by the Japanese.
Yes, Ito would be very happy with that result. He's run a terrific race, and whilst he hasn't won the race, he's certainly given it a game shot, and he's very close. I'm not sure on the time, but he'll be very close to a personal best there. So
Gebru's been passed by, I think, another fellow Ethiopian.
So he's absolutely fallen apart, Gebru. There he goes. He's really struggling for home.
It's at the Eritrean. I think Hidru, might be looking like he's getting taking his spot on the podium.
So that's the first time we've had a podium finish by someone from Eritrea, from Africa. So Teweldi Hidru is coming in, rounding the corner for the 400 metre run from home.
Massive PB for him. He's a 2:16 runner before today.
That is fantastic. So guys, I think this is official. Can we believe it? For Kawauchi, 2 hours 10:00. He's right flat on 2 hours 10.
I'm starting to think there's a conspiracy with the organisers of the event just to bring it down 1 second each year.
I
ran the Tokyo Marathon myself, and I crossed the line. I saw it 2:09:59, and it was rounded up to 2:10:00. So
you felt cheated?
I felt cheated because I reckon I was under, but hopefully that will stay. They won't round up that 1 second that we're talking about, because again it gives us that carrot for future years, because still no one has broken 2:10. Technically they haven't broken 2:10.
Well, we know it can be done. I mean, Kawauchi's extraordinary run today to rein in Gebru, who had got away to probably about a good 40 metre lead at a certain point. Tactically, he's judged the race very, very well.
Oh, I admire Gebru having a go. He put it on the line. He made the surge at the important stage when he had the race there to win, and he took it by the teeth that got it and really made that break that I thought was probably a winning break at the time. So he won't die wondering. He'll be happy with the race, I'm sure.
So here's our third place getter, our bronze medal winner, the first podium finisher from Eritrea. So quite a bit of history being written here with a new course record. The first place getter from Eritrea, and the next thing we'll keep a very keen eye on is the women's time. But on last reports, we were well and truly heading for a race record in the women's event. So the leader, Yukuki Akaba, was leading the Kenyan runner Alice Garichi, probably by about a minute 20. So yeah, we're seeing pictures there of Rob Di Castella with Kawauchi. Dika's just given a big hug to Kawauchi. He's wearing the proud Japanese flag, the red rising sun, there at the finish line. So this is Gebru from Ethiopia, struggling home. It's tough when you've laid it on the line, had a crack finishing in 2:14. Still a very brave and commendable run.
Shows how hard the marathon is. There's one of the best marathon runners in the world, reduced to a shuffle and relieved to cross the finish line.
So there's nothing much you can do at that point in time when it's all blown apart in the last couple of K, guys. It's as much as you would like to hang on, it's just about getting to the tape, isn't it?
Certainly is. I mean, you could stop and have a beer and it won't do anything at all. So when the body has said it's had enough, it's had enough. And I think that's the thing that has certainly drawn me to the marathon, where it's a mind over matter thing, and when everything is said and done and it's just you versus the race, at the end of the day you want to make sure that you've crossed the finish line and you've beaten the event. And if you don't, there's a lot of endless weeks that then come into the training for the next one.
So we're looking at the fourth place getter, Jairus Chanchima. He was the number one seed on race times leading into the 2013 race here. He's struggling home. Obviously, his race has fallen apart a bit. There's quite a shuffle there. Still got that high arm carry. He's struggling.
That's right, and he's a 2:7:50 runner, so again another one reduced, and he was in that group and probably the pre-race favourite leading in. So he hasn't had a good day at the office. He's going to finish though, which is good, and he'll be pretty stiff and sore and sorry at the end of the day.
So there's no one else in camera shot there. So Chanchima clearly fourth.
I think fifth. I think he might be.
Oh,
fifth.
sorry, fifth. My apologies. Yes.
Yes.
So we've seen
Gebru
come home in fourth. We assume that's a half marathon finisher just ahead of Chanchima there. He'd be worried if it wasn't.
That's right. Yes.
So look, we think we are able to go down to the finishing line in the next minute or so, where Jessica Mears is going to have a chat with the race winner Yuki Kawauchi. So
Well, that was certainly fun for me, mate.
okay, we'll come down there in a couple of minutes. Just not quite ready. So on screen is Jairus Chanchima, the Kenyan runner who is finishing 5th. A couple of people sort of walking and jogging home in the half marathon, and that's a lovely thing, isn't it? The fact that the half marathoners can be coming across the finish line with the elite runners in the marathon. That's a nice touch for them.
Yeah, all sharing the same finish line over this weekend. So, a famous way to finish. You're always finishing under that famous finish line. So whilst you get that personal victory, you also get to cross the finish line that everyone's used over the weekend, which is a nice touch down here, I think.
So almost a clear 2-minute victory to Kawauchi, a minute 52 ahead of Taiga Ito. Look, we think that's official. I don't know if the Gold Coast Marathon officials can do any fancy number crunching to get 1/100th of a second off 2:10.
Take it from me and Mona. If it's going to go anyway, it'll go up a second, and we
right.
might, in another hour, it could still go up. So we've been at many races where you cross the line, you think it's all said and done, then you look at the final race results, and there's always a second or two that could be added on there.
So why is that, Lee?
Well, they look at gun time and obviously chip time, and they have to make sure that everything has crossed the mat correctly. That's been rounded up to 2:10.00, but they have hundreds of seconds that they need to take into account as well. So if it's obviously greater, then it'll go up to 1.
There's no chance it's going to go down.
It won't go down. No, it won't go down.
You could say he's judging it perfectly, because he's just taking a second off at a time off the course record. So he'll come back next year and get the 59.959.
Well, that's a fantastic run by Kawauchi. Who's finished 6th there? That's another one of the...
that was Chanchima just crossing the
Oh,
line there.
right,
So that's
okay,
our
thank
5th
you.
place getter, 2:17. So he's 10 minutes outside his personal best. So there you go. He's had a hard day at the office, and that's all happened basically through 30k. So it's in the last 12k that's really happened.
So we'll be looking for the women's winner, and I think we've got her on screen there. Looking at Yukuki
With her
Akaba.
coming in, it's probably a good time for me to vacate, so the great Lisa Ondieki can come in and call that home.
All right. Well, look, thanks very much for joining us, Lee. We'll catch up with you later.
Thanks, Ian.
I hope the decision hasn't been too hasty, but you sound
No.
like you're at peace with things.
I
If
am.
that's the last appearance on Gold Coast,
It won't be my last appearance, but it'll be my last competitive appearance.
we'll see you again. Look, thanks very much. We'll just go to a quick break, and we'll call home the winner of the women's marathon.
First positions, please. Make this a good one, please. We've only got one take of this. Okay, turn over the prop, stand clear. Come on, Tigers, nice and quiet on set, please. Are you ready on the roller coaster? Okay, so stand by to roll. Yeah, recording sound. Okay, everyone, let's have some fun. And action!
Welcome back to the 2013 Gold Coast Airport Marathon. We have a male winner, Yuki Kawauchi from Japan, who has run extraordinarily close to sub 2 hours 10. Jessica Mears caught up with him just a few minutes ago after his win. A clear winner, a famous victory, a course record, and let's hear what Yuki Kawauchi had to say after his win.
Gold Coast Marathon record by 1 second in 2:10 flat. 2:10 flat, it's a record. How does it feel to have taken this course out?
大会レコードのですね、1秒切った2時間10分を収められたわけなんです。更新されました。おめでとうございます。どういった心境ですか？
すごく嬉しいです。ただサブ10まであと1セコンドだったので、それがすごいもったいなかったです。
My aim was actually to go under 2:10, so 1 second short, but I'm so happy about it.
Did you know how close you were when you were coming through the home straight there, that you were going to, you were so close to coming under 2:10? Did you know that you were that close?
ですね、フィニッシュに入ってくるときに、ゴールに入ってくるときに、自分の目標に近い、自分はできるっていうふうに思いましたか？
もうギリギリ本当にいけるかいけないか、最後はもう気持ちだというふうに思いました。
I actually pushed myself to the limit. I just had to push myself.
How did this rate, in all the marathons that you've done, you've had an amazing year already. How did this course rate for you this time?
今まで何度もですね、いろんなところ走られてきたわけですけれども、このゴールドコーストエアポートマラソンのコースはどういった感想を持たれましたか？
はい、すごくフラットで、そしてすごく楽しくて、すごく応援の方が素晴らしい応援があるコースだというふうに思いました。
I felt that it's nice and flat, and it's such a beautiful view, and then such a great spectators that they kind enough to give me a cheers.
So, can we see you back at the Gold Coast Marathon in the future, do you think?
またですね、将来ゴールドコーストエアポートマラソンにご参加するために戻っていらっしゃいますでしょうか？
そうですね。次サブ210をするためにもう一度やっていきたいと思います。
I will come back to beat the 210 mark next time.
And what's the next race on your schedule for this year?
次に走られるスケジュールはどうなっていらっしゃいますか？
フルマラソンについてはもうワールドチャンピオンシップが次のレースになります。
The World Championship is my next aim, and that is happening in next month.
Well, congratulations again. You've taken out the Gold Coast record here, and your name is in the record books for posterity.
ゴールドコーストエアポートマラソンの大会記録を更新されまして、これから記録にお名前が残るわけです。おめでとうございます。
ありがとうございます。これからもまた頑張ります。
I'll do my best for future too. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Yuki. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Can I just say, word from the officials, it's not official until the referee declares that. They're out in the course at the moment.
Okay.
So it is a provisional result at the moment. So
Okay.
We'll find
現在の時点でですね、
very short.
Okay.
I'll let you know as soon
そ
as
のタイムが出てきてないので、公式ではないですということを。
So a provisional record at this stage.
Now,
He was running as hard as he could. He really deserved to get it.
it continues to tantalise us, that magic 2 hours 10 barrier, a new course record. But you're here to share with us what should be a very exciting finish to the women's marathon, and a clear winner, Yukiko Akaba, who's 2 minutes clear of Alice Garici of Kenya. She's got a fascinating story to tell, and we think she's on track for a new course record.
Well, the women have been on track for the course record from the get-go. They started out at about 2:27.40 pace, then by 10k they dropped it to 2:27 flat. By 15k they were on 2:26.20 pace. So it looks like they've kept that up, and I think we're going to have a new course record by minutes. But she's a fast runner. She started as a university runner. She has a 5k time of 15 minutes and 6 seconds. That's
Wow.
really fast. Has had a roller coaster career. And some ups and downs in the marathon. She's had some marathons where she's blown up at 30k, but she's run multiple times under 2:30 as well.
So we're looking at Yukiko Akaba, who's on screen there. So we think she must be something like 5 or 6 minutes from the finish. Actually, probably even less. That must be somewhere around 41 kilometres. So this is a fantastic run. She slipped quite some distance behind Garici. I think it was around 45 seconds. Then she's pulled that back. That's a hard thing to do in a race, isn't it?
I'm not so sure that she slipped behind. Each 5k got faster in the first 3 5ks, and she has had the experience of blowing up in a marathon. So it may be that the others were picking the pace up, but she chose to keep a constant pace. So rather than slipping back, it might have been that in the later stages of the race, they slipped back, she ran even pace and caught up to them. She's a really smart runner. I think she's running really even pace here.
That is a very smart run. And that takes some doing, doesn't it, to hold yourself back, the temptation. if you're feeling okay, is to go with the leaders. But you've got to have a race plan, and sticking to that race plan, having the patience and commitment to do that.
She's learnt the hard way. Her first marathon ever was in Osaka in 2009, not too many years ago. She ran 2 hours, 25 minutes and 40 seconds in her first up marathon. That is incredible.
Extraordinary.
And in that one, she ran the second half 22 seconds faster than the first. Next marathon, she blew up. So my feeling is she probably would rather run an even pace or negative split than have the risk of blowing up again.
So we're looking at Yukiko Akaba, who is coming into the finishing turns and then straight for the Gold Coast Airport Marathon. She's about 300 metres from the finish. A fantastic day for Japanese marathon running with 1-2 in the men's, and the women's winner that we're looking at here, Akaba from Japan. She was third at London earlier this year in 2:24.42. We're just trying to keep a close eye on that time under the finishing line. So it's ticking over 2:26, is that? My eyes aren't that good, Lisa.
This is going to be a course record. We know that.
There we go,
it's
2:27.
It's going to be a huge course record.
She's going to break this probably by 2 minutes. 2:29.29 was the course record, set 20 years ago. She's looking very triumphant. She's a very happy lady.
Smiling.
Here we go, the winner of the women's marathon for 2013,
Fantastic.
Yukiko Akaba, 2:27, about 16 seconds, smashed the course record by over 2 minutes. What a race.
Fantastic for her too. Some redemption, because despite running 2:24.40 in London, she was looked over for the World Championships in Moscow. That had to have been tough. So this is great for her.
That's certainly, and that says a lot about the calibre and quality of Japanese women's running. A couple of people have said to me they thought that the standards of Japanese women's running might have been slipping, but her effort today shows that there's some proud standard bearers still to inspire many of her Japanese colleagues.
Well, when you can run a 2:24 and not make the World Championships team, oh my gosh. That's strong running.
Something's going seriously right in women's running in Japan. On screen now is Alice Garici from Kenya, who is, she's about 300 or 400 metres from finish, the second place getter. She could possibly go under the course record as well. It's a little bit hard to know how her pace is holding through this point in time, Lisa.
She could go under it because it didn't look like she was more than 2 minutes behind. Doesn't look as comfortable as Yukiko looked at the finish, but still finishing strongly enough.
So she's probably, we know that's about a good minute 10 from the finish.
Yeah, she might miss the record, but she could go under 2:30 if she's lucky.
Yep. So a terrific run by Alice Garici. Very brave run. So she was the race leader between 25 and 30k, but Akaba of Japan, the official time we think is 2:27.17, so that is an extraordinary run. Japanese runners who back in the 80s and 90s dominated the Gold Coast Airport Marathon have risen to what they would say is their rightful place here at the event.